Hello everyone, I'm Dan, and today I want to talk a little bit about some of the improvements that Roblox have recently made to Roblox VR. So first things first, I can now smooth turn in Roblox VR, pretty neat. We should probably be facing our character while we're doing this. You can see it is perfectly smooth, and it works both in third person and in first person. You'll also notice as I'm moving around, there's no more vignette around the screen. That is now disableable in the settings, which is fantastic. Clouds obviously work in VR. I made a tweet about that a while back. But unfortunately, the Knuckles controller bindings are still a little bit pants. Only so much we can do about that, unfortunately. But probably the biggest change is down here with this bottom bar. So you'll notice as I turn my head, this bottom bar snaps in place. This is a massive difference from the way that Roblox UI used to work. With the old Roblox VR UI, it was a small square in the middle of your vision that was kind of glued to your headset almost, which was not very comfortable. So having this much more natural, smooth snapping UI is a much welcome change. And of course, you can click on it to bring up your UI. So I have the developer console open for some reason. I must have accidentally hit F9. That's totally fine. It's a little bit finicky to use because, moving target. But you can see that the chat window is here and we can emote. So if I can hit it, let's say hype dance because that's still in vogue, right? Hello, fellow kids. But yeah, you can see this is a much more comfortable VR experience than what we're typically used to. And of course, you can now easily open up the menu here. And so that's all lovely. And you'll notice that the controllers still work for summoning this UI. It's a little bit weird, but you know what? Fine. Like Roblox have had a pretty difficult time porting anything into VR whatsoever. So this is a welcome change. I still have some criticisms though. So, the first thing you'll notice is that I can walk into this wall like this, and then what I can do is I can take a step forward into the wall. A little bit weird, right? Like, why am I allowed to do that? And the reason why is because you have to be very careful about where you're standing in VR. You have to be standing exactly where your character's feet are, and you can't move because Roblox doesn't account for that. If you take a step in room space, you do not move in game space, which is a little bit weird. And it also means you can very easily, for example, you can veer off to the side and then, all of your collisions go funky. It's just not very nice. And the second criticism I have is that Roblox aren't really utilizing VR all of that much in this mode, which, I understand this is a traditional Roblox experience if it was ported to VR. I get that, right? But VR isn't really about traditional Roblox experience. VR is much more about you being there inside of the game world. And you'll notice my hand movements, no matter how flamboyant, don't get translated onto my avatar. This is something that kits like Nexus VR character get right, is that when you are gesturing to other people, they can see it. And so I have hope. Roblox have recently introduced something called IK control, which should make this sort of thing pretty trivial to implement. And it would be massively useful for increasing immersion. Roblox are already doing similar things in similar areas. For example, you will have seen dynamic heads for spatial voice, so you can emote with your face. That would be really cool to integrate with like VR face tracking and eye tracking technology, especially, which is now starting to roll out on headsets like the Pico 4 Pro and the Quest Pro. So I think Roblox could definitely make better use of the medium. There are a few things that they just need to sort out with regards to connecting you to your character. Because right now it's very easy to have an out-of-body experience, which is very, very clunky, to say the least. I think that Roblox could definitely adapt these UIs to better support VR. I think something you will have noticed in particular is that the chat window has a tendency to just disappear and is really finicky to get it to come back, which I'm not quite sure what's up with that. It's just one of those chat window things. And yeah, so I think that Roblox could definitely do more to help their VR developers too in terms of API surface. So something that's quite interesting is that Roblox have moved away from the whole recentering paradigm. So in old Roblox VR, there'd be a pretty prominent button to recenter to your head. And the way that VR development always used to work was relative to the head. So your head position and your controller positions would be relative to some origin position where your head was, which probably made sense at the time when phone-based VR was like the hotness. But obviously we figured out that phone-based VR is actually really shitty and nobody wants to use it. And so it's kind of a bit outdated. We've now realized that we should be doing things in terms of the room that the user inhabits, not in terms of their head, right? But Roblox still doesn't provide the facilities for this. Roblox does not let you get the floor origin C-frame or whatever. So you can't measure how high up the user's head is off of the floor without them first putting their headset down, doing a calibration step so you can record the C-frame, and then doing everything relative from there. Really what I think should be happening at the moment is that all VR C-frames should be being measured from like a point on the floor in the user's room, like some kind of origin point. And that would be much more useful to work in terms of. It might require some API deprecation and reworking, but it would make for a much better VR experience. We'd be able to do things like automatic height calibration. I think in addition, Roblox needs better hardware support for their controllers because currently these suck, right? These are Knuckles controllers, and they are the best VR controllers on the market, the best that money can buy. I love these for everything except for Roblox because the bindings are still quite unnatural. And I think the ultimate solution here is that Roblox just needs to rethink how they approach VR controllers as a whole, because the hardware is not consistent whatsoever. These Knuckles controllers are fairly distinct from the PSVR 2 controllers, which are themselves fairly distinct from the Quest controllers, right? We're seeing different designs pop up all the time, like for example, Pimax Sword, HTC Vive wands, all of these different designs for controller. And Roblox just doesn't support any of them really well, apart from Oculus Touch and Vive Wand, because those were the two that the system were originally built for. So I've written up a bunch of proposals already about how Roblox can do more to support hardware independence for VR controllers, whether it be for controller positions or being able to bind actions to certain like semantic buttons, like, I don't know, stuff like you could normally do with context action service would be quite nice. Being able to have better remapping support within Steam VR would be fantastic. All of these different things, which would help separate out the hardware of the controllers from the software of the game. So us developers don't have to buy every single headset in order to test that it works on them all. It should just work everywhere, which is Roblox's philosophy. In addition, it would be nice, but not necessarily like required, in order to have better support for finger and hand tracking, for full body tracking, and all of these other more recent VR developments. Having tracked controllers is perhaps the biggest thing that they've already got down. But beyond that, VR is a heavily social experience. And so being able to interface with all of this new hardware, all of these new tracking points would be fantastic. Especially considering that the Roblox client essentially lives in a sandbox. I did consider making an external program that can relay those tracker messages into Roblox, but it's extremely hacky. It basically involves sending a whole bunch of keystrokes to encode binary data, which is a whole thing, and it's completely hilarious and impractical, but you could technically do it. But it'd be much better if Roblox had support for this natively. Beyond that, though, I think this signals confidence, right? Roblox are now confident that they want to pursue VR as one possible avenue to experience Roblox with. This is so much better than in previous years where Roblox made commitments and didn't even follow through on them. Roblox are finally investing properly in all areas of their product, which I am super happy to see. I love these new bottom bar buttons. They are much better. I mean, they could still perhaps be made a little bit more easy to hit because they are currently quite small. And maybe a way to hide it entirely would also be appreciated, so we could just summon it as we wish. But again, I acknowledge that's pretty difficult to do, because you need it to be accessible at all times, a bit like Roblox's own top bar button in the corner. But yeah, overall, really fantastic update, Roblox. 2 thumbs way up. This is so much better than what we used to have. Anyway, that's about all I wanted to talk about today. I just wanted to highlight this fantastic update. I've been Dan, and I will see you guys very, very soon. Have fun.